Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of The Great Ruler Season 2 Part 14 based on novel. So let's start. On the stone platform, the youth was still hurling saliva around as he presented the divine forging stone within his hand. However, this item was comparatively too poor when compared to everything else that he had auctioned. Therefore, there were a lot of people who held suspicions in their hearts, and there was not a single person that showed much interest in it. What exactly is this item going for? While the youth was feeling somewhat crestfallen, someone finally casually asked. This caused a tremor within his mind as he replied, "It's priced at 5,000 strands of spiritual pawn spiritual lights or 20 strands of spirit night spiritual lights." Instantly, the surroundings turned quieter as the majority of the people present spat out and choked. Looking at the youth as if he was stupid, they thought, had this fellow gone crazy after thinking about the spiritual lights? Seeing the majority of the people looking at him with gazes of contempt, the youth's face instantly turned slightly red. Feeling indignant, he said, "If no one's buying it, then let's forget about it." It's obvious that he didn't have the material for being a salesperson, as he wasn't able to garner any interest for the objects he was auctioning out. Furiously snorting, he started to turn around and walk away. He thought, these people truly didn't have an eye for treasure. There will come a time where they will feel regret. Wait. Just as he was able to turn and leave, a voice finally rang out. Pausing his steps, he turned around with some suspicion, only to see a handsome and outstanding youth smiling towards him from under the stone platform. Standing behind the youth was a beautiful girl that would make people feel absolutely astonished. "I'll buy that stone," said Mu Chen while smiling towards the youth. His total harvest for the past 2 days was 25 strands of spirit night spiritual lights. This had Luo Li's portion already added to it. However, since Luo Li needed that unknown stone, he would, naturally, not be stingy about it. Whoosh! The moment Mu Chen said those words, the various sounds of an uproar rang across the entire area. Gaze after gaze of astonishment converged on him. Spending 20 strands of spirit night spiritual lights to buy some unknown stone. What was this fellow thinking? "You want to buy it?" asked the youth after quite some time, while looking doubtfully at Mu Chen. 20 strands of spirit night spiritual lights was absolutely not something that anyone could easily take out. "Are you still selling it?" Sensing the gazes coming from the surroundings, Mu Chen faintly wrinkled his forehead and asked. "I'm selling," replied the youth hurriedly with a conditioned reflex. It was already so hard just to find an interested buyer. If he was to let Mu Chen go, it might be possible that he truly wouldn't think about ever selling it again. Just as the youth shouted, he immediately tossed the black stone towards Mu Chen. From the looks of it, it seemed that he was afraid that Mu Chen might feel regret. Giving a smile, Mu Chen extended his hands to catch it. Whoosh! Just as Mu Chen was able to catch the black stone, a gale suddenly rushed and erupted out, shooting directly towards Mu Chen's palm. Feeling the incoming gale, a chilling glint flashed past Mu Chen's eyes. With a backhanded slap, pitch-black spiritual energy burning with black flames erupted out, slapping towards the incoming gale. Ding! A metallic sound rang out as a dagger was sent flying by his slap. Finally, with a buzz, it smashed into a gigantic boulder which was crushed and thoroughly shattered. At the same time, it was smashed into dust by the slap. Due to this sudden change of events, everyone present was in shock. Hurriedly, they turned their sights towards the origin of the dagger, only to see a group of people rushing up from there. It was a group of youths wearing black robes, while the lead youth was playing with a dagger in his palm. Sparkling with a cold glint, the dagger nimbly spun around within his hand. "What does the Dark Society's Xu Bin want?" Astonished voices rang out as people recognized the youth with a single look. It seemed that this youth had quite a reputation in this area. "Ha ha, good skill." Clapping his hands, the youth dressed in black by the name of Xu Bin grinned as he stared at Mu Chen. Chilling intent appeared in Mu Chen's eyes as he stared at the fellow, while an unhappy expression surfaced on his face. Facing this kind of person, who had attacked him for some unfathomable reason, Mu Chen did not have any good impression of him. This brother, we've taken fancy of this stone. Please make things easy and give it to us. That Shu Qin did not care about Mu Chen's darkened face. With a faint smile, he said, naturally, since you all have bidded first, we'll give you suitable compensation. Is that all right? Although he had said, compensation, there wasn't the slightest amount of pity for Mu Chen in his gaze, as if what he had done was to give in to the poor. All right, compensate me 1,000 spirit knight grade spiritual light, replied Mu Chen indifferently. Hearing his reply, everyone in the surroundings instantly grinned. 1,000 spirit knight spiritual lights. Even if the spirit knight spiritual lights possessed by everyone within this camping grounds were to be added together, would it even be that many as that? Shu Qin's face twitched before replying, "Ha, please stop joking, little brother. I'm Shu Qin, a member of the Dark Society. Please make things easy, brother. We've been paying attention to this item for quite a long time already." Mu Chen did not continue to care about him. Looking towards the auctioning youth, he extended his hand, signaling that he wanted to receive the black stone again. Ha, since this brother isn't willing to give it to us, the only thing we can do is to compete in the normal way. The auction price is 20 spirit knight spiritual lights, right? I'll offer 22 strands. Upon seeing the current situation, Shu Qin started to smile again and spoke out. Hearing that, the mind of the youth auctioning the black stone shook. Feeling the difficulty, due to being pressed between two sides, why not give it to the person that bids the highest? This way, he wouldn't be considered as offending either one of them. This brother, looking slightly guilty, he spoke while looking at Mu Chen. Mu Chen faintly frowned. He never imagined that this kind of change would occur when he wanted to buy the stone. These few fellows truly made people feel loathsome. 25 strands, said Mu Chen indifferent. The moment his words appeared, it attracted quite a few whispers from the surroundings. After all, it wasn't easy to obtain spiritual lights at a spirit knight's level. 25 strands, that means that one had to kill 25 spirit knight at the heavenly transformation stage. That wasn't an easy task to accomplish. With Mu Chen being able to bring out 25 spirit knight spiritual lights in one setting, it was obvious that he was not someone that was easy to deal with. 30 strands. A trace of darkness finally flashed past Shu Qin's eyes as he spoke his bid. 30 spirit knight spiritual lights. This could be considered over half of what they had obtained over the past 2 days. Forget about it, I don't want it, said Luo Li while gently tugging at Mu Chen's sleeve. She knew about their bottom line. 25 spirit knight spiritual lights was already their limit. A sliver of fury flashed past Mu Chen's eyes. Within his heart, he did not have the slight traces of a favorable impression for the Dark Society. Shu Qin, after so long, you still have the temper that makes people loathe you. While a dangerous glint flashed past Mu Chen's eyes, a mocking voice rang from behind him. He turned around, only to see Wang Tong, and Ran and the rest appearing, unknowingly behind him. As for the one who said those words, it was Wang Tong. Wang Tong. Looking at the Wang brothers, Shu Qin started to frown. It was obvious that he knew them. Proceeding to twitch his mouth, he replied, "What? You wish to insert your foot into the bid? However, don't blame me for not reminding you. It is not I who has his eyes on this divine forging stone. It's big brother Mu Fengyang. If you feel that you have the adequate guts, you can give it a try." Sending a meaningful glance at Mu Chen and Wang Tong, Shu Qin continued to speak with a mocking tone. Mu Fengyang? That dark horse that defeated the 9th place Jiang Tai. Hearing the name, the faces of the trio slightly changed. Although we don't have any interest in sticking our necks into this, we have a debt to Mu Chen from some time ago, replied the trio. They seemed to have some previous grievances with this Shu Qin. However, they also dreaded that Mu Fengyang and did not dare to overly provoke him. With a move of his eyes and a clench of his hand, a crystal ball that seemed to be ignited with a blazing fire appeared in Wang Tong's hand. An astonishing spiritual energy fluctuation started to radiate from within it, looking rather substantial. The interior of this crystal ball was obviously filled with spiritual lights. Furthermore, it was all at the Spirit Knight's level. There's a total of 30 Spirit Knight spiritual lights within it. I'll lend it to you, for now. Remember that this is a loan and you'll to return them to us, said Wang Tong in a low voice, feeling somewhat painful. This was the complete harvest of the brothers. Being together with Mu Chen for the past 2 days, they had, naturally, known that due to them hoarding all of the food, Mu Chen and the girls' harvest wasn't especially large. If they had wanted to participate in the bidding, it was obvious that they would not be able to compete with the other party. Thanks, it can be considered that I owe you guys a favor. Mu Chen gawked slightly before smiling. In his heart, his favorable impression towards the trio had grown greater to some level. Patting the shoulder of Wang Tong, he said those words. That Mu Fengyang might be here, as well. Be careful. Sweeping every direction with his gaze, Wang Tong replied with dread brimming in his eyes. Mu Chen faintly nodded his head. He already did not have a single shred of favorable impression towards this dark society. Today, he wanted to see exactly who would dare to prevent them from getting his hands on this divine forging stone. 35 strands. Tossing and catching the blazing crystal ball in his hand, Mu Chen said towards Shu Qin with a single trace of warmth in his gaze. You? Shu Qin finally turned furious. He never thought that after saying Mu Fengyang's name, Mu Chen and his group would actually dare to continue to interfere with his bid. 35 strands of spiritual lights. This had, similarly, exceeded their limit. Although the divine forging stone was indeed somewhat miraculous, it did not have that high of a value. See that Shu Qin was no longer contesting. With a flick of his fingers, Mu Chen sent 35 Spirit Knight spiritual lights towards the auctioning youth. The latter hurriedly received it. Carefully shooting a glance at both parties, he threw the black stone over to Mu Chen. Both parties weren't people he could provoke. Taking the spiritual lights, he quickly ran away in fear of being engulfed in their fury. Receiving the black, divine forging stone, he turned around and handed it to Luo Li. The girl gave a shallow smile. That touchingly beautiful appearance made quite a few people stare fixedly at her. Mu Chen, are you truly going to make things difficult for us? Looking at the object landing in Luo Li's hands, Shu Qin instantaneously threatened Mu Chen with fury. I dared to smash the headquarters of the Demon's Gate in the face of He Yao. Therefore, you better shut your mouth for this kind of threat. Staring emotionlessly at Shu Qin, Mu Chen said in a cold and severe voice, do not provoke me, or there will be consequences you are unable to pay. Shu Qin gritted and clenched his teeth. The dark society's gazes turned sinister, as vigorous spiritual energy erupted from their bodies. Seeing this change, Wang Tong and the rest stood beside Mu Chen. Circulating their spiritual energies, they focused their gazes on Shu Qin and his group. Due to both parties, the atmosphere instantly turned into a state of mutual hostility. Seeing the change, the surrounding crowd hurriedly retreated in fear of being implicated. However, just as the hostile atmosphere was about to ignite, a gentle clapping sound suddenly rang out. At the same time, a soft laughing voice followed and rang out. Ha ha, you're truly, with a doubt, the most outstanding person within this batch of freshmen. However, I would like to know about what price would Shu Qin be unable to pay, and what price I, Mu Fengyang, can't pay. When the soft laughing voice rang out in the region that was in a state of mutual hostility, the taut atmosphere instantly turned stiff. Exultation instantly erupted from the eyes of Shu Bin and the rest of the group, before sending provocative looks towards the Wang brothers, whose expressions had some change. Mu Chen slowly raised his head. His sight leaped across the crowd of people toward a place not far from here. At the high ground, there stood a stone pavilion, within which stood a slender and tall youth dressed in black. With calm eyes, he stared towards Mu Chen. Even though he was still some distance away, everyone could feel the strong spiritual energy radiating from his body. Pressure formed from the condensation of his spiritual energy as it started to spread out. That degree, he had already truly reached heavenly transformation stage late phase. It's Mu Fengyang, shouted someone with eyes brimming with dread. The Mu Fengyang of the past might not be very famous. However, after he had defeated the 9th place on the heavenly rankings, Jiang Tai, his reputation had been rising rapidly in a straight line. Everyone knew that this dark horse would rise towards the heavens in this hunt. Mu Chen continued raising his head, his black pupils locked onto the high-spirited youth in black within the stone pavilion. The latter's imposing aura was, indeed, not weak. No wonder he could defeat Jiang Tai. The expressions on the Wang brothers' faces turned grave. The three brothers had the strength of heavenly transformation stage middle phase. However, if they were to truly take action, it would still be hard to contend against that Mu Fengyang. In addition, there was still Shu Qin and that group, who were glaring at them covetously, like watching prey. Ha ha. I've long heard about your name, Mu Chen. You're the most outstanding person within the freshmen. I've even heard about the grudge and grievances between Li Xiantong and He Yao. Our dark society really approves of you. If you would join us, I think that they would not dare to do anything to you in the future. Unexpectedly, Mu Fengyang did not immediately take action. Instead, he stared at Mu Chen and offered him an invitation. His voice was filled with an extremely thick intent of recruiting Mu Chen. Your association is too big and noble. I'm afraid that I won't get accustomed to it, replied Mu Chen with a smile. He did not have much of a favorable impression of the association of dark horses. Although they had believed in concealing their strengths to bide time before shocking people in one go, Mu Chen had always felt that this was a little distorted. Due to some humiliation, they had firmly suppressed their emotions. Even though being able to bear it patiently was good, there were times that one cannot be too excessive. From the temper that these few people had displayed, it might be difficult for them to maintain that painstaking training state of mind after shocking people in one day. These kinds of people were destined to be unable to become genuine experts. Therefore, they were also destined to never truly exceed Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong. You really don't know how to appreciate kindness. Seeing that Mu Chen had unexpectedly rejected Mu Fengyang's invitation, Chu Bin and the group instantly flared up in a fury. From what they could see, although Mu Chen had some fame within the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, it was clear that he still could not be considered as an influential figure. The current Mu Fengyang had his name rocking the entire hunting grounds. Towards them, Mu Chen was too lazy to bother. Staring at Mu Fengyang, the latter was indeed not a weak fighter. If they were to start fighting, he had to put in quite a bit of work. Heavenly transformation stage late phase. That Bai Xian was also at this stage. However, at that time, Mu Chen had to draw support from the demonic strength left in him by the big scared demonic pillar before being able to kill Bai Xian. However, the current him, whose strength had increased by a huge factor, obviously, did not need to rely on that method. Ha ha. That seems somewhat regretful. Mu Fengyang treated Mu Chen's rejection with a calm and ordinary expression, with only his eyes gradually turning sharp and incisive. Staring at Mu Chen, he slowly said, however, that divine forging stone has quite a bit of use for me. Is there any possibility of forsaking it? Senior Mu is currently an influential figure amongst the top 10 in the heavenly rankings. How could such a low-graded item enter your eyes? Replied Mu Chen cynically. What if I say that I truly want it? Said Mu Fengyang slowly. A surge of spiritual energy erupted from his body akin to a tidal wave. It seemed to stir the skies and the weather, bring about an astonishing feeling of oppression. The vast and expansive campground seemed to have quietened down by quite a bit at this instant. Innumerable gazes turned and faced the origin of this commotion. The might and threat brought by a heavenly transformation stage late phase expert had made the atmosphere of this campgrounds much more stifling. Contrary to everyone, Mu Chen seemed to not discover that sort of pressure. Only frowning slightly, he shot a look towards Mu Fengyang before turning around. If you fancy it, I have to trouble to find a second one. His voice was clear and indifferent, however, there wasn't much attempt to cover the impolite tone within those words. With regards of the people of the Dark Society, he could be considered as having completely lost all interest in them. Seeing that Mu Chen had turned around to leave, Luo Li immediately followed. Wang Tong and Ran and the rest looked at each other in the eyes before hurriedly following him. Seeing the figure of Mu Chen turning around and leaving, a cold and fierce smile suddenly appeared on the corner of Mu Fengyang's mouth. In the depths of his eyes, a cold glint followed his boundless spiritual energy as it suddenly erupted. Bang! With his spiritual energy surging, Mu Fengyang's figure dashed forward explosively, akin to lightning. Standing high in the sky, without any hesitation, he sent out a palm slap. Spiritual energy surged below the palm, akin to a raging tide, before transforming into a gigantic spiritual energy palm print. Without any mercy, it furiously patted down at the back figures of Mu Chen and the group. Just as Mu Fengyang launched his attack, Mu Chen's footsteps suddenly stopped. Clenching his hand tightly, he formed a fist. Black flaming spiritual energy started burning around it that was akin to smoke as it rolled and rushed towards the clouds. Roar! A stretch of starry sky seemingly appeared behind Mu Chen. A white tiger stood on the stars, facing the heavens, and gave a loud roar. As its hind legs stepped out of the stars, it carried a murderous aura that blotted the skies. Transforming into a white streak of light, it smashed head-on against the gigantic spiritual energy palm print in an extremely stiff and hard stance. Bang! Wild and violent spiritual energy fluctuations rippled throughout the skies, creating hurricanes as it traveled through this stretch of space. Even the clouds were ripped and torn apart. The spiritual energy impact lasted for quite a while before slowly subsiding. The sky started to clear before the two fierce and violent attacks slowly disappeared. Seeing this play out before their eyes, quite a few people felt slightly shocked in their hearts as their gazes turned somewhat strange as they stared at Mu Chen. Mu Fengyang possessed the strength of a heavenly transformation stage late phase. That palm he sent out was able to instantly defeat a heavenly transformation stage middle phase expert. However, Mu Chen was able to counter this without a slightest trace of being in a disadvantage. His move had obviously become much stronger since the pact of 3 moves he had with Li Xiantong. Up in the air, when Mu Fengyang saw that his attack was blocked head-on by Mu Chen, his eyes faintly narrowed. The latter's spiritual energy fluctuation was only at the level of a quasi-heavenly transformation stage. He hadn't even completely stepped into the heavenly transformation stage. However, Mu Chen was still able to receive his attack. "You are undoubtedly the number 1 person among the freshmen," said Mu Fengyang with a faint smile. "Mu Fengyang, if you want to shock the world with a single feat, go find those that are placed in the front on the heavenly rankings. There's no need to find a freshman like me. If, by any chance, you suffer a defeat here, it would not be easy to reaccumulate that fame and reputation, and the only thing you would do is to become my stepping stone," said Mu Chen with a frown as he looked towards Mu Fengyang. "Dissolence!" Shu Qin and his group instantly shouted furiously. This freshman was too arrogant. Contrary to them, Mu Fengyang only gave a gentle smile. A cold glint flowed within his eyes, however, he did not let it show. Gently smiling, he replied, "Looks like you truly have confidence in yourself. You better stop wanting this divine forging stone. If you truly can't resist the urge, feel free to find and attack me. Regardless of what move you use, I'll just receive it," said Mu Chen with a laugh as his black pupils shot a deep look at Mu Fengyang. Without any pause, he waved his hand and Luo Li and the rest gradually disappeared into the distance. This time, Mu Fengyang did not launch an attack. However, some darkness faintly appeared on his face. In the next moment, he descended from mid-air. "Brother Mu, are you going to let that brat off just like that?" Shu Qin and his group had already crowded over before asking this question, somewhat unwillingly. Never had they imagined that even the personal appearance of Mu Fengyang was unable to restrain and prevent Mu Chen from leaving. Mu Fengyang shot a glance at them and replied, "That Mu Chen isn't easy to deal with. Although his strength is at the quasi-heavenly transformation stage. Even I would have to spend quite a bit of effort to deal with him. We can reach that region tomorrow, so there's no need to consume our energy now. That brat is too rampant. He didn't even give any face to you, Brother Mu," said Shu Qing hatefully. Being treated like that by a freshman, their hearts were filled with unjust. They thought about their freshman time, when they were always cowering. Where would there be such impoliteness towards their seniors? However, this fellow was that rampant and yet he was still able to mix that well with others. "Relax. The things that I, Mu Fengyang, had taken fancy of would not be given to people in vain." Mu Fengyang gave a faint smile, before looking at the direction that Mu Chen and his group had left in with a slightly cold gaze. "The direction that they are headed to is, more or less, toward that region. Therefore, we should be able to see them again. At that time, we'll wait and meet up with Qingshan. After converging with him, would that brat still have any chance to hop and jump? Brother Zhao is also coming, said Shu Qin and the rest hurriedly with great joy. Mu Fengyang nodded his head and replied, although that spirit king is newly born, it's still not something that we can deal with. With him, we should have some level of assurance. Ha ha, if our dark society is able to kill that spirit king, we'll become the only power that is able to hunt and kill a spirit king in these last few years. In the future, our fame in the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy would be sufficient to press the Judgment Brotherhood, as well as the Xian clan. The faces of Shu Qin and the rest were brimming with excitement. Looking at the direction where Mu Chen and his group had left in, he said, at that time, that brat will definitely feel regret for refusing to enter our dark society. Mu Fengyang laughed as he also looked towards the same direction with slightly narrowed eyes. Mu Chen, I hope that you possess strength that is compatible with your arrogance. If not, I'll completely step on and destroy that arrogance of yours. Mu Chen and his group did not stop at the campgrounds. Heading out of the campgrounds, they continued on their way, once again. During the journey, Mu Chen threw the crystal ball, which had 5 less Spirit Knight spiritual lights, back to Wang Tong. Smiling at him, Mu Chen said, I've borrowed your spiritual lights. Afterwards, when I've killed enough, I'll return them to you 3. There's no hurry. With you, we're not scared of you reneging, replied Wang Tong with a smile. The gaze that he sent towards Mu Chen was filled with some astonishment, as well as a sliver of respect. The unfrightened and fearless attitude that Mu Chen had used to face Mu Fengyang had made them feel slight respect for him. After all, the trio rather dreaded that Mu Fengyang, and did not dare to casually offend him. You 3 have to lead us to more reliable gathering points on the way, said Mu Chen in a jokingly scolding manner. The trio gave off an awkward laugh, before nodding their heads. Looks like they have to hoard less of the food in the future. Mu Chen looked at Luo Li behind him once again. The girl was playing with the black stone, while her exquisite little face faintly revealed some joy. Is that divine forging stone that formidable? Asked Mu Chen with some doubt. He had heard of a divine forging stone before. Even though it could be considered an uncommon object, it was not of that level of rarity. An ordinary divine forging stone, naturally, does not have much use, replied Luo Li with a brilliant smile. Raising the black stone, she continued, however, this isn't an ordinary one. Mu Chen felt some amazement. Could this divine forging stone be extraordinary? Luo Li grasped the black-colored Luotian sword in her jade-like hand. Tossing the divine forging stone in the air, a sword glow whistled before chopping down on the surface of the black stone without the slightest hesitation. After the sword glow had passed through, the incomparably hard black stone was, unexpectedly, slightly split open. Following the crack on the black stone, Mu Chen could instantly see a bit of sparkle and luster gently radiating out from within. This divine forging stone was indeed extraordinary. The black stone started to split apart, inch by inch, as the sword glow flashed past. Under its black color, a sparkling glow started to radiate out, becoming extremely dazzling. This mysterious change had attracted the vision of Wang Tong, and Ran and the rest. They looked in amazement at the scene before them. Not a single one of them had any idea that there would actually be another world within this seemingly unremarkable, divine forging stone. Luo Li extended her small hand and gently peeled away those broken stone shards. As the stone shards fell off, a crystal, with the approximate size of a thumb, revealed itself to Mu Chen and the rest. There wasn't anything special looking at this sparkling crystal. It looked like a well-cut diamond. However, there seemed to be fluid revolving within it, making it look extremely mysterious. Although this crystal was extremely tiny, Mu Chen and the rest could feel the enormous energies contained within it. What is that? Asked Wang Tong and the rest dumbfoundedly. This is a forging god crystal, replied Luo Li with a faint smile. A necessary material that is required when forging divine weapons. They are extremely rare. It can be assumed that you can't even buy it from the Spiritual Values Hall in the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. The expressions of Mu Chen and the rest simultaneously changed. A necessary material for forging divine weapons? Divine weapons, this was something that even sovereigns would be greedy about. They have never seen one before, and they don't even know if the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy has any of them. However, this divine forging stone is too small and is far from enough for forging divine weapons. If not, its value would be extremely frightening, said Luo Li in a soft voice. Mu Chen nodded his head. A material that could aid in the forging of divine weapons. With regards to many experts, it would be a fatal attraction if they ever caught wind of it. This time, we've picked up a bargain, said Mu Chen with a smile. If not for Luo Li, even he would have missed out on this forging god crystal. Relying on his strength, it was simply impossible for him to discover the crystal hidden deep within the stone. Naturally, other than Luo Li, there should be no one else within the students of the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy that had the ability to detect it. Luo Li gave a soft laugh before storing that divine forging stone away. She needed to find time to undo the first seal on the Luotian sword. That way, she would possess an extremely frightening trump card. Let's go. We've to seize the moment to find more gathering points. The current us are penniless and we also have a debt to pay, said Mu Chen with a grin. Feeling somewhat guilty, Luo Li looked at Mu Chen. She naturally knew that Mu Chen had took out all of his spiritual lights to buy the divine forging stone. Their 2 full days' worth of harvests was basically spent on it. If you show me this expression again, don't blame me for punishing you, said Mu Chen with a frown. He did not like seeing Luo Li being so calculative with him. Luo Li responded with a sweet smile. That perfect smile caused even An Ran and the girls to feel a little dazzled. Wang Tong. I'll have to trouble you 3 about the matter of finding gathering points. We'll split them evenly, said Mu Chen while looking at him. Their information was extremely abundant. If they were able to provide some of them, their harvests would be extremely large. This region should have a dangerous grade gathering point. I don't know if there will be any spiritual knights at the heavenly transformation stage late phase there. However, there should be quite a few spiritual knights at the heavenly transformation stage middle phase. It might be a little troublesome to eat it, muttered Wang Tong after hesitating. Dangerous grade, murmured Mu Chen as his eyes faintly narrowed. Before he could reply, a faint laugh rang out from Luo Li as she said, then, let's go there. Mu Chen shot a slightly curious look at Luo Li before proceeding to laugh, unable to control it. Why? Our goddess Luo can no longer bear it and wants to take action. Since entering the hunting grounds, Luo Li had always been following quietly behind Mu Chen and seemed to be rather content in doing so. So much so that the circumstances that required her to take action were extremely little. However, from what Mu Chen could see, she seemed to want to take the initiative. You've owed a debt due to me. Naturally, I cannot be lazy, replied Luo Li with a charming smile. Her clear glassy pupils were gently staring at Mu Chen. Okay, let's head straight there, exclaimed Mu Chen with a loud laugh. Ever since they had entered the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, Luo Li had rarely revealed her true power. However, he knew that if she was to truly take action, even he might not be able to defeat her. Seeing this, Wang Tong looked at Luo Li with slight amazement. They did not understand much about Luo Li's true strength. However, from Mu Chen's words, it seemed that she was extremely formidable. Some doubt flashed past their eyes, however, they didn't say anything in the end and immediately proceeded to lead the way. For such matters, Mu Chen would not be joking about it. This doubt of theirs finally turned completely into smoke and disappeared into thin air hours later. At that time, the gazes they sent towards Luo Li were overwhelmed with shock and respect. It was a gigantic valley. At this time, Luo Li's black sword slowly entered its sheath, causing the world-shaking sword chi to completely vanish. In front of her was a deep fissure that extended 1,000 feet. The fissure was as glossy as a mirror, and it extended to a mountain peak, before splitting it into 2. This was all caused by a single slash from Luo Li. There were even 5 spiritual knights at the heavenly transformation stage middle phase that were cut apart by that slash. They seemed to put up not a single trace of resistance before being sliced apart by that black comet-like sword aura. That single slash was so swift and fierce that it was simply impossible to defend against it. While Luo Li was sheathing her sword, At another direction, a white tiger was roaring towards the heavens. A black pagoda was suppressing something that caused the earth to quake and mountains to shake. The 4 spiritual knights at the heavenly transformation stage middle phase were directly shaken and exploded. From there stood an outstandingly handsome youth slowly descending to the ground. A terrifying pair of lovers. Wang Tong and the rest looked dumbfoundedly at the accomplishment of the two. They couldn't help letting out a long sigh. 9 spiritual knights at the heavenly transformation stage middle phase were completely suppressed by these two. If these two were to direct their attacks towards the trio, they might be ousted to a sorrowful state and have to scuttle away. At this time, they realized how stupid they were, as they had actually tried to snatch Luo Li away some time ago. If Luo Li had taken action then, looking at the gigantic fissure on the ground, a cold shiver instantly traveled up their spines. It's a pity that we didn't meet any spiritual knight at the heavenly transformation stage late phases, said Luo Li with some regret as she shook her head. This gathering point, in reality, could be considered as having a pretty good lineup. However, it was a pity that the spiritual knights were clearly unable to defend against the attacks that were simultaneously launched by her and Mu Chen. Not bad. Adding all of them together, this gathering point had almost 10 spiritual knights at the heavenly transformation stage middle phase. This lineup could be considered as a dangerous grade gathering point. This time, Wang Tong gave us a reasonable one, said Mu Chen with slight satisfaction. Compared to the small gathering points that the trio had brought them to previous, where he was too lazy to even move, the current one could already be considered as a very big harvest. The trio laughed guiltily before hurriedly saying, "Rest assured, when we reach that region tomorrow, you guys will understand why it's called an extremely dangerous grade gathering point. If everything goes smoothly, our harvest will cause everyone's eyes to turn red." Mu Chen turned his vision towards the northwest direction with some anticipation within his eyes. Extremely dangerous grade gathering point, from there, would there be the existence of a spiritual king? A spiritual king at the heavenly completion stage. He really wished to experience exactly how formidable it was. A blaze seemed to have ignited within Mu Chen's eyes, filled with fighting intent, as well as curiosity. Next day. In the early morning, Mu Chen and the group stopped for a rest before rushing at their utmost speed towards the northwest direction. At their current speed, they would get close to the extremely dangerous grade gathering point they had been searching for since 2 days ago. As Mu Chen and the group rushed towards the region, they were able to discover that there were some spiritual energy fluctuations faintly spreading out from the far distance. They looked at each other in the eyes as they thought that it was not only them who were rushing to that region. However, they did not know exactly how many strong groups were locked onto that place. Looks like this region would be extremely lively. Mu Chen and the rest started to increase their speed. After approximately an hour, their speed started to slowly decrease as a crater appeared on the flat plains they were traveling on. That was a crater formed by an abyss whose bottom could not be seen. Beyond that crater, lied a radiant world. The radiance over there seemingly overshadowed the colors of the sky and earth. That was the radiance formed from the convergence of light. Looking from afar, it looked like a sea of spiritual lights, and one simply couldn't see its end. Mu Chen and the rest were floating in the sky as they stared dumbfoundedly at the sea of spiritual lights with an ending that could not be seen. Faintly, they could feel the countless spiritual pawns pacing back and forth. That entire place seemed to be a country of spiritual pawns. Mu Chen stared at the depths of the abyss. Although his line of sight wasn't able to reach the end of it, he could faintly detect some fluctuations that made even his heart slightly palpitate. Looks like this region wasn't simple. No wonder it was able to be graded as an extremely dangerous grade gathering point. Such a terrifying gathering point, Wang Tong and the rest were shocked to the point that words could not form in their mouths. However, they subsequently became feverish. If they were able to collect all of the spiritual lights here, how great would the effect from the spiritual light empowerment be? Perhaps they might even be able to rush into the heavenly transformation stage late phase. Mu Chen gradually recovered his clarity. His line of sight turned towards another direction, where there were some rushing whizzing sounds resounding from there. From a distance, he was able to make out a few figures standing in midair. More and more people were coming to this place, and a great majority of them were not easy to deal with. After all, people who don't have any skills would not dare to come to a place like this extremely dangerous grade gathering point. Mu Chen and Luo Li shot a glance at each other. Seems like it would not be an easy matter to hunt the spiritual king. This place truly become lively. This video will end here.